Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SaaS Founder Stories. My name is David Brennan. Today, I have Ken Rapp with me today. He's the CEO and founder of BlueStream. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Great to be here.
Tell me a little bit about BlueStream. What do you guys do?
So, we're all about helping brands and companies delight their customers around their product experiences, which results in higher retention, happy customers that buy more, and higher lifetime values.
So, when you say products, what type of products do your customers produce?
So anything that's a physical good or service. So whether it's health or wellness products, beauty products, even musical instruments. We've got lots of
Cool.
young musical instrument players out there who are learning how to play music. And around that product experience, we just create this trusted connection between them and their store where they're renting or bought the instrument, and they delight them, and they keep going. We're pretty happy to share that there are tens of thousands of students who would have stopped playing that trombone or violin or cello, and they went on to the next year because our platform is able to help connect them with a personalized messaging system.
That's so cool. I love it. How did you how did you get into that? What's the story?
Great question, and it goes back to music. So one of our team had an acoustic guitar, and we are here in the Boston area. And as you probably know, Boston gets cold and dry in the winter, and that guitar was in distress, and the brand didn't know, and the guitar didn't have a voice to tell the owner of the guitar that there was an issue. And
Yeah.
so the foundation of the company is, why wouldn't that dialogue between the brand and the consumer be happening live around that product ownership experience? And so that's really what we've built, is a SaaS platform that allows brands, whether it's food, beverage, beauty, even think of it in terms of unboxing, usage, or taking care of a physical good product, to have an ongoing, constant dialogue between the brand and the consumer. The end users love it. They really, really, really appreciate it. And there's this trust built around the product experience.
That's so cool because I think that's one of the hardest things when you look at, like, I'll say it's significantly easier to track user information, I'll say, behaviors and all that in something like software, right? Like if you're using any one of any software right now, they're tracking everything that you do, and they're using that to ensure that you get the best possible experience. But the idea of like actually having a, a guitar or trombone be tracking user experience around that, that's really cool. So how do you guys do that? Are you allowed to tell me?
Sure. So let's take an example of maybe food and beverage, a supplement, or a smoothie company who really, we rely on as businesses repeat and recurring buyers to come back and buy again. But the odds are against us if we're not connected. It's like 80%, 70 to 80% within the first 90 days, never make a third purchase. You might get a second one with some promotion, but then they're gone. And so what we do is, as soon as the consumer clicks buy now, that will trigger what we call a set of dialogues or a journey that will help that consumer and assist them with the product unboxing, and then the usage, and then how do they take care of or store, or are there expiration dates of the product? So maintenance and care. And so, anything like whether it's Shopify or WooCommerce or other types of point of sale systems trigger the journeys. And then we've got, our systems, our team has got templates and a library of best practices on how to start to engage your consumer around the products. And the only other point I'll make is, sometimes it's not only the product and is it brand new and, just unboxing, but it's also the user. Maybe the user, this is their 100th time buying the product. They need different advice and assistance than someone who's a very beginner. And so our system, we call it hyper personalization. We take every consumer, and as they start to answer questions and click on the educational links that are usually right off the website of the brand, we start to form that relationship, personalizing to them and what they need next around like usage. How often do you run in those new sneakers you just bought? Have you ever had these sneakers before? We'd like to make sure that if it rains, you can take care of them. And maybe after 100 miles, it's time to put new inserts in there. and our cloud would just track that when you tell us I run about 10 miles a week. So 8 weeks from now, you're going to get a message that's relevant and actually personalized at the right time. So the conversion rates on that upsell, cross sell are super high, and
Hmm.
the retained product owners on our platform on behalf of lots of companies runs over 90%. Once a consumer starts on a journey, they really appreciate hearing from the brand, not on promotional issues, not on coupons or the next sale, but really teeing up the relationship so that they're ready when it's time to buy rosin for the bow, or
Hmm.
you really do need new strings for your guitar. And I happen to be a big rock guitarist, so I play in bands and I love that. So that's really how it started, was a guitar problem, and now we're just having a blast growing like crazy.
So I have two questions. The first one, you said you have about 90% retention. What's industry average?
So for most products, you lose 50% of those customers within the first 90 days.
Yeah.
You've
So that's
lost
really
them.
interesting.
It's crazy because we spend so much money on CAC, on customer acquisition, and then we barely get to the third sale, and that's because
Yeah.
there's no connection. But the products that we work with, lots of brands and a whole variety of types of products, they're marvelous, and most businesses and companies, they're the best experts on those products, and they've got all this great content on their website. But what happens when a customer isn't connected? They might go on to search engines, and then they'll get the wrong information or competitive information for the accessories, and you've lost the customer.
That's really interesting. And I think this is really important. Like you're doing it for your customers, but this conversation is really interesting to me. Currently, I'm running two software companies and, cost of acquisition and lifetime values and things like churn. And how do you actually like look at the customer journey and understand where they need specific things, where they if they don't do a certain activity or whatever, they start to drop off, and you start to begin to lose them. So I think this is really interesting because you said you're using AI in your product, and I suspect it didn't start with AI. So how are you now using AI to understand this and help your customer, but also like what is your thinking about this as for other founders who might be looking at how do I use AI to understand my customer better, understand what they're actually doing?
Excellent question. So I'll start from our product looking out, and then talk about in what we do internally. So when you think about engaging your customer around a product, you're doing well when you're getting unplanned or unexpected inbound messages from companies, from consumers, right, to your company. And so AI has really helped us be able to look at natural language processing and some large language models to take those unplanned responses or inbound, because the consumer really feels great about it. It's kind of like having another friend on your phone. Most of the time, we're using SMS and text messaging for the communication. And so we get lots of messages. So AI is helping us power the right messages back to that consumer. And if we're not getting the right responses, then we serve it up to the customer support team, so that they now have the history, almost like Carfax. Like, for the first time, you can see with a physical good that was a box delivered on someone's doorstep, and they brought it in their house and opened it up. Like, you actually can see all that behavior, and then when they opened it, how their experience was for your customer support team. So to your point, another place that AI is helping us is we have so much data about customers engaging. We can see where the best engagement places are, where the problems are they're having with products, and make those recommendations right back to our customer, the client who is the brand that owns the customer. So it's great, because without it, it's a huge job to try and get in there and understand, a company like us accelerating so fast, to keep up with it with people is probably impossible in the long run.
Before you go on, I want to throw something in because I have this theory, and I think it really kind of coincides with what you're saying, and that is, I think a lot of the challenge that companies get into are around resources, right? So I can't 2 years ago, right? I couldn't really communicate with every customer that I had. I couldn't look at every conversation. I couldn't process every conversation as a manager. I see sales managers that are like, I'm running 6 people. And you're like, oh, so what's your job? Well, I'm supposed to make sure that they've got the right message and that they're saying the right things and that they're demoing properly, da 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 da, right? Okay. If you do the math on that, and you think about that, and you have 6 reps, and they're doing 2 to 3 demos a day and probably 50, 60 calls. There's absolutely no way that that manager is listening to more than 3 to 4 things a week because they also have to make sure they're hitting their numbers. You know what I mean? And I think this is just like one of those things where every founder needs to start looking at AI as a tool that can do the heavy lifting for you on those type of natural language processing activities. If somebody reaches in, do you have 25 customer support people or do you have 10 when you're scaling? Because it makes a huge difference on if you only have X amount of dollars in your budget, you need to get really smart with how you're able to do way more with less in today's world. And so I think it's really interesting what you're saying because that is exactly the use case that I think is the number one every founder, I don't care if you're in software, product, whatever, that's what you need to be focusing on for the next 12 to 18 months.
I love your example. One of our customers who sells a pet probiotic ice cream, and it's in all of the market across the country, going global. The founder said to me once, she said, you know, when I had 200 customers, I knew every dog's name. I knew every customer's name. I could actually understand every one of them and what my product was going to do for them. And then it went to 2,000, and then it went to like keep going, and you just can't get there without using some of the technologies that are powering the messaging like what we're doing at BlueStream. And then when I turn internally to your point, a funny story you might not think, like when we have meetings with customers, we are now really embracing the note takers because those note takers we can then use to automate some of the dialogues that we ultimately are using in the market with their customers. And it's really remarkable, David, to hear the when you can free flow in a conversation. What, like if I say to you, what do you think in those couple of software companies you have, what do you think some of the challenges are? You kind of riff a little more when you're live like this compared to give me a survey, I'll go think about it and write down some answers. But you riff, and then riffing together, you actually unlock some of the superpower, I call it, of the real value to be able to use the note takers to then summarize back those superpower connection points
Yeah.
is a really powerful use of AI and technology today that you couldn't do before. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
that's so
that makes
cool. I will say this, like I think that what you said right there, if you have a company right now and you're not recording every single one of your interactions with your customer like this, like you should record every single one of these. Take the raw transcript and put it over into whatever your context file is. Because I was at South by Southwest 2 weeks ago, and I think it's Avion. Anyways, huge makeup company. They built an AI that is the voice of their customer. They had 150 years of conversations and research and, like all that stuff. And now when they want to launch a new product, they talk to that AI because it is their customer. And I think that's the next step, right? Where we look at these things and we're recording these meetings and we're creating this unique context file that only you have, right? Like this is a moat that everybody should be creating because your understanding of the customer through the conversations is not the same as a large language model predicting what a customer will say. It's not. It doesn't have that same emotion. But what it's really good at is reading that transcript and telling you what's in there and bringing it out so that you can have it in the future.
You know, it's interesting there because one of the tools that we're working on that will be available next month is late next month. I'll protect my development team, being a small team, is a tool where you could put in your brand and a product that you provide, and the AI, our AI under the hood will then go grab. You've got all this great content already on your website, on your blogs, on your brochures, your videos you have that are absolutely perfect, but they're not delivered to your customer at the moment when they need them. And so we have a tool that will help bring that to the surface and show you, a dialogue and what we call a product experience journey throughout the if thens and when they answer this way. And we're going to make that available to the world. We want everybody to really be part of this product experience connection with their customers. I think it's urgent. E-commerce is great, but it commoditized brands. If I have a dog probiotic and I go online and just type in, dog probiotic, I'll get a million hits. But if I have a customer engagement and a relationship around how to use my product and build trust there, I have a customer for life. So I love what you said. It really resonates with me. Another place we use AI inside the company, and I'll tell you, if you ask me what's my number one challenge as a founder CEO, it's speed. We just got to go faster. We can't go fast enough in a quality way. So, using it for marketing, there's some technologies out there that are using AI to like help hone in on your ICP, and you can and get very granular to help you sort of be more focused and not need an army of salespeople to prospect as hard as they do. Although the flip side of that is there's so much white noise in the market now; it's very hard to get appointments. So kudos to all those salespeople out there, like most of us who are trying and get at meetings. But AI can help there, and the other places to build content and draft. I'll call it draft up some blogs and some
Hmm.
salient content that you think that your customer could use. They're very good at drafting some of those things.
That's awesome. So, in closing, what are you guys looking at for the next 12 months? Where's your focus?
Scaling. We're growing so fast. It's unbelievable. We want to share with the world the value of product experience engagement and using your products as your secret weapons to change your revenue picture. We see 30-40% higher retained consumers, 20 to 30% higher average order values, and we see LTVs doubling because where it's just not rocket science. It's now you have that digital edge you talked about on software, a digital edge to your physical goods, and you get all that wonderful value of, and it's really not negative. It's use it positively to help your brand provide a personalized experience to your consumers, and everybody wins.
That's awesome. Ken, thank you very much for coming on the show. And I look forward to watching you guys over the next few years and seeing what you're building.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it. Thanks, David.